Continuing our discussion with congenital heart diseases, let us start with ventricular septal defect. Ventricular septal defect is a developmental defect in the interventricular septum, allowing shunt between or the opening between left and right ventricle. So obviously there would be uh, opening in the interventricular septum which is not supposed to be there. Usually it is closed. Now discussing about its developmental changes. Central ventricular septal chamber is effectively divided into two chambers by the fourth and eighth week of gestation. This division is accomplished by fusion of membranous portion of interventricular septum, the endocardial cushion, and the bulbous cordis. The failure or fusion of one of the above components, that is interventricular septum, membranous portion, endocardial cushion, and bulbous cordis, during morphogenesis of embryonic heart results in ventricular septal defect in the corresponding component. Most common cardiac malformation, which account to around 25% of all congenital heart disease. They are most common lesion in many chromosomal syndromes like trisomy of 13 known as Patau syndrome, trisomy of 18 Edwards syndrome, and trisomy of 21 that is known as Down syndrome. So they might be associated with this. Now, we do have a classification for that also. It is based on the location of the defect. It can be perimembranous, which is the most common type, muscular or trabecular, outlet VSD, and inlet VSD are also its type. Also, the size also matters here. So, the small, moderate, and large size can be compared to it. So small ones are around 5 mm and the larger ones would be more than 10 mm. The one which lie between them are categorized as the moderate one. According to the hemodynamic status, small defect and where the shunt is limited is known as restrictive, whereas the large ones, which is a non-restrictive, where the shunt is not limited. Now regarding the pathophysiology, the pathophysiological effect of ESD derived from the effect of left to right shunt. First of all, uh, the blood movement would be from left ventricle to the right ventricle. There is increased left atrium and left ventricular volume load. There is more that causes left atrium and left ventricular hypertrophy. Excessive pulmonary flow, which will cause pulmonary hypertension and reduced systemic cardiac output would be present. So it's quite understandable as the blood is moving from the left ventricle to the right ventricle. So obviously the blood returning coming to the right ventricle would be more. So it would be having an overload on it. And as there is less amount of blood left in the left ventricle, it will cause reduced systemic cardiac output. So if it's left to right shunt, it will cause increased pulmonary flow, which will cause pulmonary vascular remodeling, increase pulmonary vascular resistance, which will in turn reverse the flow from right to left direction, which is known as Eisenmenger syndrome. Naturally, what happens is there is a spontaneous closure of around 50% of cases by the first year, but congestive cardiac failure develops in large VSDs after 8 weeks of age. In large VSD, the shunt may reverse as early as 6 to 12 months of age. But Eisenmenger syndrome does not get established till the teenage. So there would be a compensation done, but Eisenmenger will appear later on. It's rarely infective endocarditis develops in VSD patient. Now, clinical features in small defects, usually there are no symptoms. growth is normal and other milestones are also normal. Incidental detection of pansystolic movement at left third and fourth intercostal space may be seen, but symptoms do appear in large defects like dyspnea, feeding difficulties, poor weight gain, easy fatigability, they do get tired easily, profuse perspiration, recurrent respiratory tract infection because overload of blood in the pulmonary tract. Cyanosis is usually absent in the early stage but might develop in cases where the shunt direction will reverse. In general examination, what we find it is a sick looking, often malnourished child with tachypnea and tachycardia. Blood pressure is usually normal. Jugular venous pressure might be raised in cases of congestive cardiac failure, and also pedal edema may be present in cases of heart failure. Precordium examination, we find hyperdynamics, that is the movement of blood from one side of the heart to the other, and it may be bulged. So we find a bulging. Palpation apex beat is thirsting shifted to the left. Left parasternal heave may be present. Thrill may be present in the tricuspid area, and P2 may be palpable. Auscultation, first and second heart sound are audible in all the four areas, not auscultation, but a harsh pansystolic murmur of grade 4 to 6 best heard at the lower left sternal border at third, fifth, fourth, and fifth intercostal space. The murmur may radiate to the right lower sternal border. Intensity varies based on the size of VSD and pulmonary vascular resistance. So, but murmuring is due to increased pulmonary pressure, so that might be heard. Investigation, so in small defects, chest X-ray might not show any considerable changes, but in large defects, cardiomegaly and increased pulmonary vascular markings may be seen. ECG is normal in smaller defects. Left ventricular hypertrophy is in large VSDs. Biventricular hypertrophy when associated with pulmonary hypertension that will come later in this life cycle. P wave may be notched when there is left atrial enlargement. So enlargement of the atrium will give you an P11, P wave notching. Echocardiogram is usually used to show the location and size of the defect and also to show the direction. Whereas cardiac catheterization is for the measurement of intracardiac or intravascular oxygen content. It defines the magnitude and direction of shunting. Usually, for small defects, counseling is done as a part of treatment, which is reassurance to parents is done, encouraged to live a normal life, no restriction of physical activities imposed. And for larger defects, parents should be counseled about its complication and prognosis. This is how the treatment line is followed. Talking about the prognosis or how the disease will progress, result of primary surgical repair are excellent, and complications leading to long-term problems are rare. After surgical obliteration of left to right shunt, the hyperdynamic of heart becomes quiet, cardiac size decreases towards normal, thrill and murmurs are abolished, and pulmonary atrial hypertension decreases. So long-term prognosis after surgery is excellent. There are some complications of VSD like congestive cardiac failure, Eisenmenger syndrome, and aortic regurgitation might be seen. But after surgery, we might have infection, post-operative hemorrhage, pulmonary hypertension, valve injury, AV blockage, that is AV node blockage, and residual VSD might appear even after surgery. This VSD which we have healed might reappear. According to most recent recommendations of American Heart Association, unrepaired VSDs don't require endocarditis prophylaxis. After the VSD is successfully closed, preventive treatment is needed only during the 6 months of healing period. So there are chances of development of endocarditis after the surgical process. That would be all with VSD. Thank you.